a seat to be set in place over an empty water drum, now used as a commode. When the bag is full, the top is drawn together. Then, with the tight-fitting lid in place, the drum will be moved aside or outside the shelter. When the bag is full, the top is drawn together. Then, with the tight-fitting lid in place, the drum will be moved aside or outside the shelter. To maintain personal cleanliness and to prevent the spread of germs, it's important after each use of public or home shelter toilet facilities to wash your hands. Remember, under crowded conditions, this is the area most vulnerable to the breakdown of health, to the start of disease. So ends the first day in the public shelter, in the home shelter.
As the days went by, one of our biggest problems was the disposal of human wastes and garbage. My husband had made an improvised commode with a plastic liner inserted in the pail. When the plastic bag was full, it was disposed of in a large leak-proof can just outside our shelter. Within our shelter, for each member of our family, we had on hand 2 rolls of toilet tissue. Also, a 2-week supply of old newspapers in which to wrap garbage and other wastes. For burying these wastes outdoors when the radiation level had become low enough, we kept a shovel available. We also kept on hand a supply of wax and plastic-coated paper garbage disposal bags.
As shelter manager, I was alert to the threat of disease. An ordinary housefly, but with a disease-spreading ability that could make every occupant of our shelter a victim of dysentery, typhoid fever, or another serious disorder as deadly in its effects as a nuclear weapon. Because flies lay their eggs in warm, moist, organic material, we made a special point of eliminating their breeding grounds, using strict methods of fly control. We insisted that the shelter be clean of all debris, refuse, garbage, as well as body waste. Waged an intensive daily campaign to kill bed bugs, lice, mosquitoes, and other small insects with household insecticides, using dust and wettable powders rather than sprays or aerosols in the confined shelter space.
The long, empty days go by as other problems arise. In the public shelter, a death and need to dispose of the body. In this case, the body is placed outside the shelter until a grave can be dug. In a home shelter, the stored water supply for drinking and washing has been consumed more rapidly than expected. From emergency news broadcasts, you learn that community water supplies have been contaminated by fallout, with the passage of time still insufficient to reduce radioactivity to a safe level. The need now arises to utilize the backup water supply in the home or public shelter system. But how can you be sure it will be free from germs? Boiling for at least 1 minute is the best and easiest way to purify water. Or you can purify water using household bleach or ordinary tincture of iodine, adding 10 drops of bleach or 20 drops of tincture of iodine to each gallon of water. Your stock from the kitchen. You waited as long as you possibly could after weighing the chances of exposure to fallout against hunger and thirst.
Exactly what are the chances of fallout contaminating food?
Be guided by this rule. Any danger from food contaminated by fallout is not from the food itself, but from radioactive dust particles that may be in contact with the food. Therefore, most canned and packaged foods will be safe to eat unless the containers are pierced or broken. Wipe the dust from the container with a damp cloth. When you're through, dispose of the cloth in the garbage can outside your shelter. Remember, fallout in food is harmful. You can't taste it, probably won't see it. To be safe, it is best to treat everything as though it has been in contact with fallout. Whenever handling anything that may have been exposed to fallout, to protect your hands, be sure to wear rubber gloves or use a paper or rag. Then carefully clean your hands. In fact, your health and the health of your family, whether in the city, the suburb, or on the farm, may depend on the rigid observance of these and other simple rules of shelter living. Here are some other health tips. Food stored in protected areas, such as cellars, is safe to eat. Vegetables like these are safe if carefully scrubbed and peeled before eating. Fruits like these are safe if peeled and washed. Remove the outer layer of leaves of a tight-headed vegetable such as a cabbage and wash. Smooth-skinned vegetables and fruits too small to peel are relatively safe if thoroughly washed under running water. It is best not to use milk from animals grazing or feeding outdoors during the fallout period. However, if you or your child are going hungry, use this milk. Chances are you'll suffer no effects. On the other hand, milk from animals kept in barns or other covered areas throughout the fallout period will be safe. Animals exposed to radiation can be used for food if they have not been sick or have not died from illness, so long as the liver, kidneys, and other internal organs that may have absorbed radioactive substances are discarded. With the passing days, radioactivity in fallout continues to decrease, rapidly at first, more slowly as time goes on. In the public shelter, you're in the home stretch of what has probably been the most trying period of your life. Meanwhile, there has been no let-up in the campaign being waged by shelter occupants to maintain sanitation and personal cleanliness. Effort expended each day in proper disposal of human wastes, in the elimination of body-infesting insects by use of DDT dust, by traps and poisons to control mice and rats, kept, however, beyond reach of children. In the home shelter, you're also coming through the severe experience of shelter living in good shape. Probably for wet, but physically in spite of the drastic in your way of life. Since there is opportunity to seek relief for the family's somewhat Spartan, however, there are rules to follow. For those in this situation, as well as those caught short of food following any type of disaster, avoid eating spoiled foods that can cause sickness, even death. Despite rotten spots, fruits and vegetables are safe to eat. Bread and other baked goods, even when moldy, are still edible. Frozen vegetables that have thawed, even soured, are safe if first thoroughly cooked. In fact, the most reliable guide to spoilage is your own nose and tongue. If any food has an extremely sickening smell or taste, don't eat it. However, molds are no indication of spoilage, for molds themselves are harmless when eaten. If they form on the outer surfaces of meats, such as beef, they can be trimmed off, with the remaining meat, even though having an unpleasant smell, safe and nourishing to eat after being thoroughly cooked. That also applies to large solid pieces of lamb out of refrigeration for several days. Beware, however, of other fresh meats such as pork, fish, and fowl. If out of refrigeration for even several hours, they should never be eaten. Meats of any kind that have been fully cured and are labeled "requires no refrigeration" will probably be safe to eat even after months without refrigeration. As for preserved and canned goods, beware of souring or the appearance of bubbles in their juices, often indicating the presence of a deadly form of poisoning, even though there may be nothing unusual in their smell.
Radioactivity in your area has been checked. I repeat, radioactivity in your area has been checked. It is now safe to leave your shelter. Report immediately to your neighborhood leader to assist in recovery actions so that community services may soon be restored. I repeat, radioactivity in your area has been checked. It is now safe to leave your shelter.
You are about to emerge from your ordeal more than just alive. Physically prepared to pitch in with your neighbor to work for restoration of your neighborhood, restoration of your community, restoration of our nation.